Yo, what's going on YouTube? It is your boy GZTV back with another video. And in this video, we are going to be talking about the series finale of The Walking Dead, the 24th episode of Season 11. This is a show I've been watching for almost like a year. I've been watching this forever. Like every other day, pretty much, I've been watching episodes. Recently, we've kind of done a stretch. But I knew I had to give you guys an edited reaction. Or a review, not a reaction for this. There is some unfinished business. You know, there's definitely some spin-offs that are coming out of this. I think actually, sorry, is there a buffalo sauce on my face? I don't even know. I'll look at it after this recording. But I think Negan and Maggie already actually have like a spin-off in the works. But yeah, we're gonna talk about the plot a little bit and like kind of give my thoughts at the end. And yeah, that's how the video goes. So let's get into it. You deserve a happy ending too, Judith says to her Uncle Daryl. In one of the episode's many poignant moments. This episode has some really emotional moments. For the final episode, obviously, it's kind of fitting for it to be one of the most emotional of the entire series. In a sense, Judith is also talking to us, the legion of Walking Dead watchers who've stuck with the series from the beginning through good times, seasons 1 through 4, you know, early saviors, Lizzie looking at the flowers, and bad. Glen Gate, Season 6, Late Saviors, all of Lizzie's storylines before she looked at the flowers. So, yeah, there's been good and bad in this show, and I'm really happy I stuck through and watched till the end, because Season 11 was really good, honestly. I really liked what they brought to the table with this one. If you were hoping for an apocalyptic red wedding, you were likely disappointed by only, by only one significant character's death. Which kind of sucks, because, like, obviously it's sad to see characters die, but for the series to close with only one major character dying, and the fact that they brought like Rick and Michonne back as well, which we'll talk about in a second, I don't know, it's kind of an interesting tactic by this show. You know, though by the time she'd breathed her last, you were likely all out of heartstrings to tug on. There were fireballs, flashbacks and flash forwards, and finally the long-awaited semi-return of Rick and Michonne. And these two didn't really make an official return back to the series per se. It was more like an epilogue for their characters' stories. You know, obviously under certain contracts, which is kind of annoying. And the thing that kind of sucks about like Hollywood and stuff like that is not everyone can make the show the entire time. But yeah. For all that was packed into the supersized series finale, perhaps the one thing missing was the most important, satisfying closure. I don't think this closed the series in the best way. Obviously, there were some sad, heart-wrenching moments, and it was pretty effective overall as a finale, but, like, in terms of, like, closure, no. This show wants to keep going on, and I feel like we're going to keep on getting spin-offs, and yeah. Unlike the previous episodes that began with Judith's narration, this one leaps right into the action as Daryl carries her to a hospital that's about to be overrun with zombies. Were all of those introductory flashbacks worth giving away that she wasn't in any real jeopardy of dying? Anyway, leaving little RJ parentless and killing both his siblings would have been far too cruel for this series to carry on, and it would have been kind of controversial. As the survivors shoot and stab their way through the horde, Jules is a fast casualty, followed quickly by Luke, who gets his leg munched on, and can only watch as his girlfriend disappears into a crowd of ravenous walkers. And obviously these weren't major characters, but Luke was kind of an emotional death because he was kind of like a down-to-earth guy. He was very innocent and naive. And yeah, the scenes in the hospital and out on the streets succeed in creating a tension the show hasn't had in a while. The feeling that moments before the curtain closes for good, absolutely anyone could kick the bucket. Like, anyone could die at this point in the episode. I mean, it's the closer. Like, going into this, you kind of expect some people to die. That's just kind of how it is. Or so it seems when Luke can't survive his walker bit and amputation. He was good people, a talented troubadour and a hero in taking down the Whisperers, but man, we haven't seen such an outpouring of grief since Ralphie went blind from soap poisoning. Also in grave danger is baby Coco, who's in an overturned crib just barely out of reach of a few hungry walkers, zombies, whatever. Wow, how plot convenient was that? Obviously, they don't really want to kill a baby on television, but yeah. It's fitting that with all the talk this season of the future, protecting the kids and a mother's burden and bringing a child into this nightmarish world, Rosita goes into mom surging with adrenaline, lifts car off trapped baby mode. I mean, she turns into the fucking Incredible Hulk so fast. She obliterates the monsters aiming to snack on her child, pulls a spider mom, and leaps off an ambulance onto a narrow pole while harming the baby strapped to her chest. Or at least we think. I don't know how the show handled that. And for falling to the mosh pit below, hops to her feet and leaves a path of zombie destruction in her wake, almost as if she has the fucking force. She just flings a bunch of walkers off her. I'm not really sure how I feel about that. I'm not sure if that's really, like, humanly possible or whatever. But hey, I mean, we'll let it slide. But her heroism comes at a steep cost as she reveals to Eugene that she suffered a shoulder bite during the melee. I mean, finally something like this is costly. I mean, holy shit. There's no way you can survive that. There's no way even fucking The Rock or, like, any strong man, like Arnold Schwarzenegger could not survive that, you know? They know that neither amputation nor anything else can save her because it's on her shoulder and it's not like a limb or anything, so they can't really cut it off for her, you know? The hospital crew, the baby brigade, the Mercer Liberation Squad, everyone eventually converges to take out Pamela, who's holed up at the estates with the elites, the good meds, and her last remaining loyal troopers. There's a couple of people that are still by her side, which frankly I don't know why. She's literally an asshole, a piece of shit. I'm not sure why these people stuck around. Before the big showdown, Mercer gives the outsiders a chance to flee back to A-Town. But Zeke takes the near anonymous vote of hell no, we won't go in your time of need. Daryl, though, looks for a moment like he'd be happy taking Newly Conscious and a little ass kicker to safety and calling it a night. You know, he's gone through fucking way more than anyone in this area has. The showdown at the estates delivers high drama as Pam and Mercer's loyalists end up in a guns-drawn standoff. Obviously, there's been a lot of standoffs in the show, but not a lot of them have been as effective as this one. I mean, this is a moment I'll praise. I really like this moment. It's the two classes, like, well, I mean, I guess, you know, like, Mercer and them are more, like, middle class, and Pamela has, like, the elites with her. I don't know. The tension finally breaks when Gabe steps forward to open the gates, and Daryl gives Pam a lecture that's memorable for its mic drop kicker. I mean, Daryl delivered a really nice monologue here. You built this place to be like the old world. That was the fucking problem. You got one enemy, and it ain't The Walking Dead. If we were all watching this in a movie theater instead of our living rooms, the crowd would have lost its collective shit after that line, and everyone would have been going crazy. That was an amazing dialogue from Daryl, some of his best of the entire series. I loved it, man. After the citizens are safe and the gates close on the walkers, Pam sees a familiar face pressed against the steel bars. It's Dad Hornsby, with Carol's arrow still lodged in his neck, of course. Remember that weird moment of kink between her and Lance when he was tied up a few episodes ago? Pam gets so tantalizingly close to his face that it looks like she's thinking about either suicide by chomp or a really gross makeout sesh. I don't know what the hell she was thinking there. But Maggie puts a bullet intended for Pam into Hornsby instead, snapping the governor out of her death trance and effectively sentencing her to life behind bars. I cannot talk today, my apologies. Pretty much gets the Negan treatment, is what happens there. Fittingly for this closing chapter, the new leader nods to the old one as Maggie manifests Rick's dream of mercy prevailing over wrath. So, yeah, it'd be really cool to see kind of like a spin. I mean, I think it'd be nice for the series to just end here, but like seeing a spinoff of like Zeke as the ruler would be really cool. Recognizing that the new variants are too dangerous to just lead away, they cook up one last doozy of a plan to exterminate these two-legged pests. With Living Color's Cult of Personality on the turntable and cranked to 11, they draw the zombies to a blast zone rigged with fuel and explosives. As the last note rings out and the tone arm swings back, it triggers a Rube Goldberg-type reaction to create a spark with jumper cables and metal. They're pretty much like mass-destroying walkers, which was kind of badass. Obviously, the CGI and all that on this show is not great. It never has been, never will be. But, yeah. The result is a massive walker vaporizing explosion that obliterates the estates above ground and below through the sewers, turning the neighborhood into a flaming crater of undeath. Appropriately enough, the record player that sets off the blast is Pam's. Look closely and you'll see framed photos of little Sebastian in his baseball uniform and a young Pam and her husband with their newborn in far happier times. And what a cool little detail this show sprinkles in with that. With the commoners saved and Pam jailed, it's time for a wine-fueled feast and some serious waterworks. Maggie pays tribute to Glenn and tells Negan that while he's finally welcome to stay, she still sees Glenn's final moments. Lucille swinging down and he calls out to his wife whenever she looks at Negan. She'll never really get over that, and understandably so. Does she see Glenn's eyeball too? I mean, I fucking do. That's what I was thinking literally when I was watching. Like, does she see his fucking eyeball come out of his head? So please forgive me, she says, if some says. Some days, I just can't look at you. It's a heart-wrenching moment for both of them, one that rings true. That's an image she'll never forget, and forgiveness is rightly far away in the future, as in season 3 of their spinoff, apparently, which I don't know why people spoiled that for me, but they did. Maggie's come to Negan moment is an emotional appetizer before the main course, as Rosita's slow decline allows for plenty of teary goodbyes, and this was easily the saddest moment of the episode. This was just, it was gut-wrenching, man. Maggie and Carol lead her to a bed where she cuddles with Coco and gets a prayer from Gabe. As he lifts the baby from her arms, Gabe whispers, "We'll see you again someday." Oh man, I was about to cry. I was like watching this like at the start of one of my classes in college, and I was about to cry like right then and there. It was, oh my god. Eugene shares her final moments, and with her last breath she says, "I'm glad it was you at the end." Man. Eugene and Rosita's bond was a curious but enduring one, so deep that the adoptive father of her child generously stepped aside to give this odd couple their last goodbye. Rosita's death leads to a sort of triple ending reminiscent of the Lord of the Rings, kind of. Jumping ahead 1 year, there's a memorial to those lost in the Commonwealth Massacre and new leadership, with Zeke in charge and a bespoke-suited Mercer as lieutenant governor. Never seen this man in a suit except for like that one little party thing they had. Eugene and Max have a baby girl named Rosie, which is rather big of Max to name their child after Eugene's best friend, love of his life, super soldier, supermodel, apocalypse, skincare icon. Yeah, I don't know how the hell her skin was so clear the entire fucking... That was crazy. Negan, last seen by Daryl just walking away during the Commonwealth Freedom Feast, gives Judith her compass back with a sweet note that should have said, "Catch me in the next series, kid." Which, we might watch that in the future, I don't know. A-Town and Hilltop are both thriving, so much so that Maggie tells Carol and Daryl that it's time to FAFO and go see what's out there. Yet again, cue the spinoff promo, let's go. But it's no surprise the biggest moments belong to Carol and Daryl. He sees Connie first, and although he practically giggles at the sight of her 1,000-watt smile, no luck for anyone hoping for these two would hook up, which is something we kind of wanted to see throughout the season because they definitely have that romantic aura to them. Instead, he shares a few quiet moments with Carol, who's taken over Hornsby's gig. Daryl is headed back out to the wilderness, of course, still hoping to find Rick and Michonne and perhaps some sort of peace, hence Judith's line about deserving happiness for himself rather than putting others first. Carol calls him her best friend, and in a shocking moment of vulnerability, Daryl tells Carol, "I love you," which is like one of the first times he's ever said that probably in his life. She returns the sentiment, and for a moment it looks like he's about to say something else, perhaps, "Why don't you come with me?" Instead, Daryl hops on his hog and speeds away. Their bond is so deep that neither wants to risk ruining it with romance. That rather vanilla ending is followed by more of a mind-blower as we see and hear Rick and Michonne writing notes to Judith by firelight. This isn't super mind-blowing. I mean, I kind of expected this, like, to close the series. It's almost fitting for them to do that. As they reflect on their lives up to this point, we take one last slow, groaning, guts-covered walk down memory lane as images of the departed pass by. Everyone from Herschel and T-Dog to Bob and Andrea to Sadiq and Beth and Jesus and Sarge and Sasha and Shane and many more. At first, it looks like Michonne and Rick are together until it's clear that they're not only apart but on different timelines. So, yeah. So, let's flash back ourselves to Season 10, Episode 13, which aired, 3 years ago, just as our own world was descending into chaos. Michonne had hallucinated on Bloodworth Island and found Rick's boots and a cell phone marked with drawings of her and the kids on an abandoned boat, along with a ship's log with notes about New Jersey. This is going to be a long video, by the way. This is the finale. I have to talk about this in depth. This explains the gear Michonne is lovingly admiring. It does not, however, explain her fabulous couture armor or why she's on horseback charging swords drawn into a valley teeming with zombies. No clue what's going on there, but consider me hooked and sign me up for a Kung Fu style series as this samurai roams the earth. As for Rick, we learn how his gear ended up on the boat. He tossed it there as a helicopter, which looks just like the one that carried him away from the bridge explosion, shows up. "Consignee Grimes, you've been located and are instructed to surrender," says a booming voice from the chopper. "Remain in place with your hands up. Come on, Rick. It's like he told you. There's no escape for the living." Who is he? Who are these people? What has Rick been consigned to? Why does he break into a smile? He's wearing a jacket with the same three-circle logo that we saw on the chopper when he was rescued, and it looks like he's been on the run for some time. The bird descends with what appears to be the Manhattan skyline in the background, which is fitting since the upcoming Maggie Negan series is set in New York, which I'm really excited for. I might watch that. It's kind of crazy, though, how they chose to not end the apocalypse with this series, but I don't know. We finally learned the phrase that Judith referenced, hearing her from her parents, as Rick and Michonne in 11 seasons worth of Heroes each say, "We're the ones who lived," as one last nostalgic montage flashes by. The final scene of Judith speaking the same words to RJ on the walls of the Commonwealth is rather neat and tidy. They look out at a nude windmill in a crop field where trooper armor is now put to better use as scarecrows. It's a new start and the future looks brighter than ever. Not every loose end needs tying up for sure, but to have such a bright, sunshiny ending on one side and obvious setups for at least 2 new shows on the other, Michonne and Rick in one, Maggie and Negan in the other, feels a bit underwhelming. Only 3 people who died at the Battle of the Commonwealth were worth a brick on the memorial wall. I mean, no one seems too worried about the newly nimble walkers who can climb walls and open doors and smash windows with heavy objects. Call it dead washing. Instead of a bold, daring finish, it's a safe one, with a little bit of everything and the happy ending Judith wished for, along with plenty of lucrative opportunities for spin-offs with the same key characters. The Walking Dead aims to follow the MCU blueprint, but at least Marvel had the guts, pun intended, to wipe out some of its most popular heroes in Avengers Endgame. And trying to please everyone, or at least offend no one, like Glenn's death did in Season 7, the finale fell just short of fully satisfying. The dead has ended, but the ones who live aren't going away anytime soon, and I'm pretty sure we are getting some spinoffs. Besides the Maggie and Negan, I think we're going to get, like, one for the overall city, and I think we're going to get one for, like, Rick and Michonne, where they, like, you reunite, and it's kind of annoying, though. We need an end to this fucking show. It's just so iconic. It's been held up for so many years that, yeah. I'm out, guys. I don't really have anything to say. Have a good rest of your day.